My guests are offspring. I've inherited the gift of gab, so if you will allow me to, I'd like to tell you a little story that I once heard about an egg, a carrot, and a coffee bean. Yes, that is right. I said an egg, a carrot, and a coffee bean. Three completely unrelated objects. And so it may seem. Although it sounds strange, there is a method to this madness. So if you all lend me your minds and play off of the sound of my voice, let's get this started, okay? So imagine a small pot on the stove filled with water. And then crank that gas to the max. Now at first the water seems fine, you know. Sure, you can feel a little heat, but for the most part it's calm, almost soothing, because nothing is yet happening. But as time drags on, suddenly the water pops. Once and then twice, and then the bubbles double and triple, and the multiplicity soars through the roof. That sounds pretty good so far, huh? Let's continue. Now, when placed in the troubled waters, the egg, the carrot, and the coffee bean each undergo a different type of transformation. So let's take the egg for instance, whose shell keeps it separated from the heat. On the outside, it seems untouched, but on the inside, it has hardened and toughened in response to its environment. The egg may look the same on the exterior, but it has changed drastically on the interior, and until it cracks, no one will ever notice the difference. Now, let's take a look at the carrot. Under the same conditions, it softens and easily falls apart. It just simply cannot take the heat. The change is noticeable almost immediately because the once sturdy and upstanding carrot is now wilting, weak, and impressionable. Now check this out. As the heat works its way to the core, the coffee bean uses this opportunity to shine. A sweet aroma is released as the bean disperses. It began as one small dark speck in the middle of that boiling pot, and now its color is emerging and spreading gracefully to expand to its perimeter. It fills the room with its strong, rich fragrance. The coffee bean absorbs what we throw at it and releases something 10 times greater. Don't you see where I'm going with this? College is our water. You know, at first it seems so ideal. As teenagers, we all want to escape the watchful eyes of our parents and venture out into our own because we see freedom, power, fun, independence, and a chance to break free from our cocoons. We do not, however, take into consideration the self-discipline or the hard work that is involved. As the college semester begins and the water starts to boil, each of you will be presented with the choice to react like eggs, carrots, or coffee beans. Now going into my third year at Howard University, I know this to be true because I've seen it in all the signs in my colleagues around me. You see, some freshmen will put up a charade while their insides experience turmoil, depression, and anxiety. These egg-like students are still just as fragile regardless of their new thick interior. Parents, these are your children who go off to school and don't return any of your phone calls. These are the students who will tell you they're fine and they're getting by in terms of academics, but when you check Blackboard, their grades are speaking in tongues. You know, the ones that never want to talk about class or their friends, and suddenly they come home talking about transferring. I'm sorry to break it to you, but you have an egg on your hands. Others will convince themselves that they just cannot deal with the added stress and responsibility. These are the students that are home every other weekend, still hanging around the hang-arounds and bringing your phone off the hook. These are the children who have tried college and convinced themselves that it just wasn't for them. They've let the pressures of the world mush and mash their once upstanding character. Through homesickness, negativity, and constant tears, they went away to school and fell apart from their parents. Now, I'm a product of the Judayah frontiers, and I stand before you all here today to tell you that you have been prepared to be strong and resilient coffee beans. Every lesson that you have ever been taught here will be challenged when you submerge yourself into the boiling water that is college. Let me tell you all one more story, and I promise that this one is short. It is the story of how I almost flunked the worst class ever in the history of classes, in the history of college, in the history of the world. Political science. Ladies and gentlemen, I have never been a political soul. I don't enjoy speaking on controversial topics. I don't fancy the science behind war, lawmaking, government, nor leadership. I'm sorry, but I've never been a fan of the subject or its teachings. And to make matters worse, the woman who taught it was foreign. So, don't get me wrong, my professor was a beautiful Canadian woman. But sometimes she would break her sentences and speak in her native tongue. And if that wasn't bad enough, she was born in Austria. So over that Canadian tongue, she bore a thick German-like accent. I thought I was gonna fail. It was rare that I ever actually knew what she was talking about. But I went to office hours often so that she could give me the chapters that she would be going over in class for the next couple of days. That way I could read ahead and make notes to follow while she taught the rest of the class. But on this particular evening, she asked me to close the door behind me, and I saw that she had pulled up my grades on her computer. And I sighed, and I remember so distinctly thinking to myself, like, this is it, Judayah. You failed college, Judayah. She's going to tell you to pack your bags and take a hike. But to my surprise, in her best English accent, she slowly told me that she understood my struggle. She said that I would pass the highest average in her class. I asked her how. I remember the first few grades that I had gotten on her quizzes. You know, before I realized that I would actually have to go out and buy the textbook. I remember sitting in class day after day wishing that I had been born part Rosetta Stone or something. But then she told me something magical. She said that she noticed on the first day of class when I was the only student to walk directly to the front and sit facing her. She said that I was her only student that she knew by name because of how many times I stood up in front of the class and introduced myself before asking any question that I had. She said that I was the only student who utilized her office hours and that I had written the best term paper in class. She said that in all of her years of teaching, she had never seen a student so upstanding and determined to make something out of their education. She told me that although I had started out rough, she saw more value in where I was ending up. Now that I'm standing before you all here today, I can't help but think about the junior frontiers. Each and every last thing that she commended me on was something that you all had ingrained in me in just a couple of months. And I'll be honest, at first I didn't see the importance in all of the rules and regulations here until I started traveling to other cities and visiting their schools. This program, there's simply nothing like it in the way that it prepares you for college and I mean really for life in general. Every single thing that you learn here can and will be applied somewhere later on in life. Mr. Rashid is not preparing you all now to turn out to be soft and naive like a carrot, nor hard and awful like a egg. Upon graduating this program, your spirit and enthusiasm should be contagious regardless of your circumstances. I am standing here as a living witness of the junior frontiers of the Mohawk Valley under the leadership of these impeccable individuals is only encouraging you, teaching you, and pushing you to achieve greatness. So now, when you leave here, wherever it is that you're going to go to school, whether it's Mohawk Valley, Onondaga, Utica College, Hamilton, Syracuse, SUNY, North Carolina Central, Spelman, Morehouse, Howard, Harvard, Yale, or international, you are a direct reflection of what this program has the capacity to produce. And the junior frontiers of the Mohawk Valley do not have room for mushy carrots nor rotten hard-boiled eggs. You better get in line because I smell coffee and they are brewing it strong and black or sweet and creamy. How do you want it?
Let's give it a big hand.